You think your children love you unconditionally. You think blood is thicker than bankruptcy. You think because you wiped their noses, rocked them through fevers, and starved yourself so they could eat, that they would never, ever come for your wallet. And that belief, that beautiful, poisonous belief, is the exact thing that will leave you dying in a state-run facility while your own offspring fights over the deed to your house before your body is cold. I know this because last Thursday, at exactly 7 o'clock in the evening, I caught my 58-year-old son on his knees in my private study, his hands deep inside the drawers of my mahogany desk, hunting for my physical will like a rat searching for grain in a locked pantry. His excuse was that he needed a phone charger. In a desk he has never opened in his life. And that moment, watching the cold sweat pool on the forehead of a man I raised to stand tall, cracked open a truth I had been carrying for decades, but never had the stomach to say out loud. So I am saying it now, to you, and before this conversation is over, I will reveal to you the one irreversible financial mistake that 90% of aging parents make, the one that hands your entire legacy to people who did nothing to build it and everything to destroy it. But you are not ready for that yet. First, you need to understand how I got here. My name does not matter. What matters is what I represent. I am a black woman who built a multi-million-dollar portfolio, starting from a secretary's desk in a Wall Street firm in 1974, a firm where the men called me by my first name and called each other Mr. I learned the language of money, not because anyone taught me, but because I listened through walls, read documents left on desks that were not meant for my eyes, and studied tax law at night while my babies slept in a one-bedroom apartment in Harlem. The system was never designed for me to accumulate wealth. Every single dollar I earned had to fight through a wall of institutional contempt just to land in my account. And now, 60 years later, the two greatest threats to everything I built are not the market, not inflation, not even the system itself. They are my son Marcus and the banking institution that is supposed to serve me. Let me tell you who Marcus is, because you probably have a Marcus in your family and you do not even know it yet. Marcus is 58. He drives a European car that he leases, not owns. He belongs to a country club where his annual dues cost more than some people's rent. He wears Italian shoes to brunch. And behind that entire performance, behind that mask of success, is a man drowning. His company is hemorrhaging money. His wife is filing for divorce. He has margin debt from stock trades he made with the confidence of a man who watched 2 YouTube videos and decided he was Warren Buffett. Marcus does not want to protect me. Marcus wants to use me as an unsecured, interest-free line of credit to save his own collapsing life. I raised this man. I fed him from my plate when there was not enough for both of us. I walked him to school in shoes that had holes in them so his shoes could be new. And none of that history registers when the debt collectors are circling. Gratitude has a very short memory when the bills are due. And the worst part is not that he wants it. The worst part is that he genuinely believes he is entitled to it. Because I am his mother. Because I am old. Because in his mind, my money is already his, and I am just inconveniently still alive, holding the keys. Now here is the first pillar of survival I need to burn into your skull. Your children's financial desperation will always be repackaged as concern for your well-being. Always. Marcus did not walk into my study and say, "Mother, I am broke and I need your money." No. He sat across from me while I sipped my dandelion root tea and told me, with rehearsed sincerity, that given my advanced age and the complexity of the modern economy, I should not be managing my own real estate portfolio and trust funds. He used the words financial power of attorney and preventive care in the same sentence, as if handing over control of my empire was a flu shot. This is a man whose own business is weeks from collapse, lecturing me about fiscal responsibility. You cannot make this up, but people fall for it every day. Every single day, an aging parent somewhere signs over power of attorney because their child made them feel incompetent. And by the time they realize the trap, the bank accounts are drained and the lawyers are expensive. So hear me clearly. When your child suddenly becomes very interested in your health, your memory, your ability to handle stress, they are not checking on you. They are casing the vault. But before I tell you what I did to Marcus, you need to understand the second enemy, the one wearing a silk blouse and a corporate smile. Her name is Elena Vance. She is the wealth manager at my bank. White woman, 52 years old, soft voice, the kind of voice that drips with condescension, so smooth you almost mistake it for kindness. Elena represents everything the system deploys against women who look like me. In the financial ecosystem, a black woman at 80 with a multi-million-dollar net worth is not celebrated. She is flagged. She is categorized as an anomaly to be corrected, managed, supervised by someone younger, someone whiter, someone who the algorithm deems more capable. Every time I attempted to restructure my assets into legal offshore protections or closed trusts, the bank system triggered vulnerability alerts. Not because my transactions were suspicious, because my face and my age did not match what their models expected wealth to look like. I have sat across from women like Elena my entire life, women who smile while they diminish you, women who hold doors open while quietly locking the ones that matter. The financial industry is full of them, gatekeepers who believe diversity means letting you in the building, but never letting you touch the controls. Elena had a particular habit that made my blood move slowly. Whenever I initiated a significant financial transaction, instead of calling me, the account holder, she would call Marcus, my son, a man with no legal authority over my finances. She would confirm my decisions with him under the disguise of elder fraud protection. She was not protecting me. She was bypassing me. Because in her world, an 80-year-old black woman could not possibly have the cognitive sharpness to manage fiduciary trusts. That is not speculation. That is the architecture of institutional racism dressed in compliance paperwork. The second pillar you need to understand is this. The system and your family will form an unconscious alliance against you, and neither side will even realize they are working together. Marcus feeds Elena his concern. Elena feeds Marcus information. And somewhere in the middle, the actual owner of the money, me, becomes a spectator in her own financial life. This is how interdiction works. This is how families use elder protection laws not to protect their parents, but to seize their parents' autonomy. The courts are full of cases where children filed competency challenges against perfectly lucid parents simply because those parents refused to hand over control. And the judges, the lawyers, the bankers, they all nod along because the narrative is so convenient. Old person, confused, needs help. When the truth is, the old person built the empire that everyone else is too incompetent to replicate. If you are still listening, if your chest is tight and your mind is racing because you recognize your own family in this story, then type the word strength in the comments right now. Because what I am about to tell you next is the playbook. And playbooks are only useful to soldiers who have decided to fight. Day 7. Marcus and my granddaughter Chloe decided it was time for the final push. They organized a dinner at my house, the home I purchased with cash in 1989 when the bank initially refused my mortgage application 3 times because they could not believe a black woman had that kind of down payment. They showed up with wine I did not ask for and a folder I did not request. Inside the folder was a completed power of attorney document granting Marcus full financial control over my assets. Next to it, glossy brochures from wealth management firms that charge fees designed to bleed estates dry over decades. Chloe, my 25-year-old granddaughter, the one who asks me for seed investments for wellness startups that exist only as Instagram pages, began to cry. Real tears or rehearsed tears, it does not matter. She told me I was facing natural cognitive decline and that I deserved to rest, as if I am a machine to be powered down, as if the brain that outmaneuvered real estate sharks and tax auditors for 6 decades suddenly forgot how to function because I turned 80. The third pillar you must carry with you is this. Tears, guilt, and therapeutic language are the modern weapons of financial predators inside your own family. Chloe did not learn manipulation on the streets. She learned it in therapy sessions she uses as a toolkit to extract money from people who love her. She speaks in the language of boundaries and healing while violating every boundary I have ever set. When your grandchild tells you that you need to let go of control for your own peace, what they are really saying is, give me the money and stop asking questions. But here is where the story turns. Because I did not yell, I did not cry, I did not slam the table or throw them out. That is what they expected. They wanted emotion. Emotion is leverage. Instead, I removed my glasses. I folded my hands on my oak table, and I placed in front of Marcus a dossier, one I had compiled myself over the previous 6 months. Page 1 detailed his exact debts, his margin calls, his company's pending insolvency filings. Page 2 documented Chloe's 3 failed business registrations, each dissolved within months, each funded by money she told me was for educational courses. Page 3 was a recording, a phone call between Elena Vance and Marcus, where Elena disclosed details of my account activity without my written consent. A federal violation so clean you could frame it. The room went silent. Not the silence of peace, the silence of people realizing they walked into their own trap. I told them the dinner was on me, everything except their bill. I watched Marcus's jaw loosen. I watched Chloe's tears dry up faster than a puddle in July. funny how grief evaporates when the grieving person realizes they have been outmaneuvered. Marcus tried to speak. He opened his mouth twice and nothing came out. 58 years old, a man who pitches million-dollar campaigns for a living, and he could not assemble a single sentence in my dining room. Because the truth does that to people who have been living inside a lie. It strips them of language. Good. Language is a weapon, and I had just disarmed him. Now listen, because what I did next is the move that most of you will never have the courage to execute. And that is exactly why your children will eat you alive. The next morning I walked into that bank with my corporate attorney, not a family lawyer, a corporate litigator who has made careers out of dismantling institutions. We did not ask for a meeting with Elena. We demanded one. And in that meeting, under the weight of an Equal Credit Opportunity Act violation, a documented breach of fiduciary duty, and enough evidence of discriminatory practice to fuel a federal complaint, Elena was removed from my account permanently. Her career at that institution ended not with a whimper, but with a signature on a separation agreement. I did not do it out of vengeance. I did it because the system only respects the language of consequences. You cannot appeal to the conscience of a machine. You must speak in the currency it understands, liability. Then came the master move. I transferred every single asset I own, every property, every account, every investment, even the title to the house I live in, into a series of irrevocable blind trusts administered by a neutral corporate fiduciary based in Switzerland. My name is on nothing. My children are beneficiaries of nothing, at least not directly. I created a conditional inheritance structure that activates only after my death and only if the beneficiaries pass financial responsibility assessments. If they cannot prove they can manage money, they receive a monthly allowance, not a lump sum, an allowance, like children, because that is what they have proven themselves to be. To my family, I am now a woman living on a pension in a house she does not own. The money disappeared, and with the money, every ounce of leverage they had over me vanished like smoke. I was no longer a target. I was just an old woman drinking tea, and that is the most powerful position in the world, when the predators walk away because they think there is nothing left to take. And here is the piece that most people overlook, because they are so busy panicking about lawyers and trusts. My body held. Through the confrontation with Marcus, through the bank battle, through the emotional assault from Chloe, my nervous system stayed regulated. While Marcus was hyperventilating across the table, his cortisol spiking so hard I could see the veins in his neck pulsing, I was calm. Not because I do not feel, because I have spent decades building the biological infrastructure of resilience. Every morning I perform isometric resistance exercises that most 50-year-olds cannot complete. I drink dandelion root decoctions because they support hepatic function and reduce the oxidative stress that destroys cognition in aging brains. The mental sharpness that allowed me to architect complex fiduciary structures at 80 years old is not a genetic miracle. It is the result of treating my body like the fortress it is, protecting it from inflammation the same way I protect my money from parasites. You cannot fight a war if the general's body is failing. Guard your biology with the same ferocity you guard your bank statements. Because when they drag you into court to challenge your competency, and they will, the sharpness of your mind is your first line of defense. A judge can dismiss a doctor's note. A judge cannot dismiss a woman who recites her trust structures from memory without blinking. Your health is not vanity. At our age, it is legal armor. Every push-up, every walk, every vegetable you eat, instead of the garbage your grandchildren order on their phones, is an investment in your sovereignty. Do not let them catch you slipping. Not physically, not mentally, not ever. Now I owe you the secret I promised at the beginning, the irreversible mistake. Here it is, and it is simpler than you think. The fatal error is telling your children how much you have. That is it, not how you invest it, not where you keep it, how much, the number. The moment you reveal the number, you stop being their mother and you become their retirement plan. You become a countdown clock. Every holiday visit has a second agenda. Every phone call carries an audit underneath the small talk. Every health scare becomes an inventory check. Every hospital visit becomes a probate preview. They do not wish you dead, not consciously, but they begin to plan for a world where you are gone and they are rich. And that planning changes the way they look at you. It changes the way they speak to you. It changes the calls they make and the calls they do not make. Silence about your wealth is not secrecy. It is the single most powerful boundary you will ever establish. Because the moment they know, they will come, not with malice in their hearts, with something worse, entitlement. And entitlement does not knock. It picks the lock. So here is what I need you to do. Stop reading this like entertainment. This is not a story. This is a field manual. If you have children over 25 who know the details of your finances, you are already exposed. If your bank contacts your children about your transactions, you are being managed, not served. If your family has ever used the phrase, "for your own good," while discussing your money, you are under siege. Go to a lawyer who specializes in asset protection, not estate planning. There is a difference, and that difference will determine whether you die with dignity or die with nothing. Build your blind trusts. Remove direct beneficiaries. Create conditions. Make your wealth invisible to every single person who did not earn it. And for the love of everything your ancestors survived to give you, stop confusing love with access. Love sits beside you without asking for the password. Love does not need to know the number. And if they cannot love you without knowing what you are worth, then you finally know what you are worth to them. Protect your fortress. No one else will.